hello, families and providers. My name is Carolina. This is Paige, and we're both inclusion specialists with the Early Learning Coalition of Broward County. Today, we're going to be talking to you and giving you some tips and tricks on how you can make your story times come alive. So welcome, thank you for joining us, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Yes, and this is such an exciting topic. So, why story time? Story time is awesome. Children learn to love the sound of language long before they even notice the existence of words on a page. Reading books aloud to children stimulates their imagination and expand their understanding of the world. You know, when we're thinking about this, Carol, I'm remembering like even my first experience with books and how it really shaped the world around me. When I think of it, like, some people say that I have like a seeing life through rose-colored glasses kind of view of the world. And I think that was from my early exposure to books and reading.
That's awesome.
So when we read stories to book, yeah, it helps to develop our listening and social skills. It teaches early literacy skills. We have our cognitive development and social and emotional growth. All of those things are being stimulated when we read stories to children. And there is a study that suggests that children who are read one picture books per day are exposed to an estimated 78,000 words each
Wow.
year. I highlighted, yeah, the importance of language development. And the cumulative effect is that over the course of 5 years before they start kindergarten, children from literacy rich homes and classrooms who are read to regularly, they hear an estimated 1.4 million words more than children who are not exposed to reading earlier on in their life. So we want to make sure we're doing, those reading every day and having fun, lots of fun.
Absolutely. That is so important. It plays a role in so many areas of learning. So that's excellent. So wonderful. We've got that in mind now, the importance of reading books. And then we want to think about how we introduce books, right? So prior to reading, it's really important that you've got a bookshelf in your classroom or in your home. Remember, this is for both families and providers, where you have books set out that encourage children to come and grab them and do picture reading and look through the pages. You want to select books that you enjoy sharing, that promote lots of, different types of characters, different feelings,
Mhm.
emotions. You can rotate those books throughout. And then, of course, when you're going to do a read aloud, which is what we're talking about today, you want to always make sure you read the book prior to you reading the book in front of your child or your children. And then notice the bookshelf here. We want to encourage you to make sure to have the covers of the book showing so that children can see and be drawn to the book that they want to read versus just having them tucked into a bookshelf where just the spine shows.
Awesome. So when we're selecting books, we really want to highlight this important concept of windows and mirrors. So when we think about windows and mirrors, books that are windows, they allow children to see into the experience of others, while books that are mirrors contain storylines and characters that reflects and on the children's own experiences, and they can see within themselves. So good idea to select those books, that can give them that outside look so they can compare and contrast and sometimes even make those connections with what we have, what's different from each other and then what's similar to each other, and making those connections with themselves.
Excellent. That is absolutely crucial. We want to also take a look at how we transition to story time, right? It is always a wonderful idea to use a puppet, wear a special hat. You can put on a story time apron that you've created. You always want to just show excitement and enthusiasm when you're introducing a book, and puppets or special hats or special glasses that you wear during story time can help you do that. That's something that you can do both at home and at school. Using a puppet is an excellent way to help children with transitions, period, but always to transition towards story time.
Awesome. And so, before reading, what we want to think about is to introduce the book. So, we're talking about the title, the author, the illustrator, the spine. Ask the children question: what does the illustrator do? What does the author do? Get them to make predictions about, what do they think is going to happen in the story, and introduce the characters and the problems so they can get to thinking, about what is going to happen in the story, and then see, you know, if what they thought is even remotely close to what actually happened. And so while you're reading, we're going to be touching on those vocabulary by pointing to the pictures and using gestures to dramatize and describe. Comment on the characters, their thoughts, their actions, their facial expressions, and even making your own facial expressions. Encourage them to make their own facial expressions. And then after reading, we want to invite explanation. What did you see? What do you think happened? Why do you think this happened? Wonder aloud and ask follow-up questions, and incorporate the book into as many centers as possible. In your home, you can have books everywhere, like in their bedroom, in the living room. Even when they go outside, maybe on the patio to play, we can have a bin of books out there, just to ensure that everywhere they turn, they're seeing books and they're having opportunities to interact.
I love that idea, Paige, of having them outside as well. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, awesome. Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next slide here. Another way that you can extend the book, which we want to always try to do, Paige mentioned bringing it outside, incorporating it into centers in your classroom. You can also look to see how somebody else read the book, maybe online, on YouTube. There's lots of books that are being read by wonderful readers as well. So in this, for example, for this PowerPoint, we've highlighted the book Going on a Bear Hunt. So you can look up to see if somebody read it online. Play a video for your child of that book being read out loud. There's lots of music and movement activities you can also find if you go onto Google or Pinterest or just YouTube and see if there's music and movement related to the book that you've chosen to read. And then if you notice, Going on a Bear Hunt is about bears. There's lots of ways that you can extend this book by bringing in other books about bears. So you can do this, again, both at home and at school, going to the library and say, we talked about bears on the book that we read. Let's see what other books about bears we can find. You can find fiction, nonfiction. So it's really wonderful to have, illustrations of bears, but also real bears and how they look and what they might sound like, where they sleep, and finding out lots of information that way as well.
Excellent, Catalina.
I'm trying to turn slide here. Okay, there we go.
Awesome. Thank you. And so when we talk about incorporating books in all the centers, so these are some ideas of the ways that you can incorporate the books, like in your writing center, when we're talking about sequencing and comprehension. When they go outside, we can do a scavenger hunt, and we can incorporate them in the math center, in our dramatic play center. And then we want to make sure that we're including like walking sticks and flashlight and binoculars. In our art center, we can paint different environments the way that they went in the book. In the block center, we can build bear caves as an example. We can create a sensory bin using, pebbles and grass and water and sticks and cotton balls. These are just some different variations of things that you can do to incorporate this in your sensory. And even for snack time, we're having a bear cave. We can use graham crackers and cream cheese and Teddy Graham crackers. We can even use like Oreo cookies and crumple them up to represent dirt. So there's lots of ways that we can extend these.
Yes.
And I was thinking, Carol, like even for the families at home, even bath time, we can take a story into bath time while children are having a bath. If you read a story that had like a cooking segment or something about cooking, then we can incorporate a cooking activity into the kitchen with our little ones.
Absolutely. There's so many ways and so many ideas out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can go onto Pinterest, go onto Google, and these are all ideas that we pulled from there. So lots out there to search for and to extend that learning. So
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to share a couple of sample questions that you can use. This is a great opportunity if you want to take a quick picture, just to have some ideas. But again, there are so many variations of questions. We want to encourage you to ask questions like Paige mentioned earlier at the beginning before reading a book, looking at the cover. What do you predict this might be about? You're constantly trying to extend and pull language out of them, right? And get them to think critically. While reading, you can ask questions like, what time of the day do you think it is in this story? Oh, why do you think it's daytime? Why would you say that? And see what they say about that. How do you think the character's feeling? We always want to incorporate our social emotional skills, recognizing emotions, things of that nature throughout anything that you can do while you're working with your child or with children in your classroom. So that's a wonderful way to highlight, even if the book isn't specifically about emotions, there's lots of characters in books that show emotion, right? So it's a great opportunity. And then, of course, the importance of asking some questions after you're reading. Things like, what questions do you have now? Or what was your favorite part of the book? Those are excellent ideas, just a start of what you can maybe ask prior, while, and after reading.
Awesome. And so that takes us right into more ideas about questions. So let's look at the type of question that we ask, like closed style question versus open-ended questions. We really want to prompt and promote asking open-ended question because this promote thinking, imagination, the use of your cognitive skills. So a style of a closed-ended question would be like, how many things are on this page? That's just prompting like a simple answer, one or two, versus how would you feel if? A closed style question, what color or shape is this? Versus what do you think happened? Do you see any color in this picture? Versus what do you think about? Where are all the blank on this page, or where are all the wheels on this page? They'll just point to one spot. Versus what is happening in this picture. And then can you count the monkeys? They're just going to simply count the monkeys. Versus what do you think happens next? So we always want to prompt ask open-ended question that can allow them to really explore and pull out more literacy and language skills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we wanted to share this next resource. This is from lena.org. It's a wonderful resource for you to look through. This is another item that you can take a picture of that can be very helpful. It helps to interact and promote conversation throughout books. So this is a great idea. For example, number 3, talking about the words. You're going to explain any vocabulary ideas or sayings that might be new to a child. Such a great way to build a child's vocabulary, right? So for example, with this one, the caterpillar is inside the chrysalis. Do you know what a chrysalis is? Right? So these are little tidbits that you can get some ideas for while you're reading. Again, lena.org is a wonderful resource for you. And we want to share one more.
Awesome, thanks. So making story time come alive. So let's have a plan. You guys can take a picture of this so you can either use this format or create your own, but really get to thinking like, how are you going to include story and make it come alive in your centers, and using those open-ended questions and hopefully some of the other tidbits that you guys picked up through this little session that we had here. Always make sure that you're dramatizing, that you're bringing the story alive, acting silly. Create like a puppet center where you guys can even reenact the story and have your children participate in reenacting in the story, and just really bringing it to life and foster their love for learning and reading.
Absolutely. I love the idea of using different voices and making it fun and engaging. We see so many children on phones and iPads now, and books are even more wonderful. So if you can incorporate that excitement, that same joy by using different voices and just making it interesting and appealing, books can really help, the children in your classroom or your child at home develop language and develop a lifelong love of reading, which is so, so crucial. So thank you again for joining us today on this tidbit. Paige, it was wonderful hanging out with you this morning.
Yes.
And
thank you so much.
yeah, join us for the next one. We hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.